Call the meeting to order. This is the regular session for the Black Mountain Board of Aldermen for March the 12th, 2012. This time I'd like for us to please turn off all your telephones and your beepers. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing, and Reverend Dan Snyder, Minister of Music at Swanville First Baptist, will do our invocation. Right there, Dad. When you finish.
May we pray? Our Father, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, the only name that is worth worshiping, and all that we ever needed is found in that most matchless name. We come to Thee, thanking You for this day, for the blessings of it, for the challenges of the day that this day has brought, for the tender moments of Your presence as You have come to our mind, as we have sensed You in the beauty of our world, for every thought of You that came to us in our quiet moments, and for every need of Thee that brought us back to You in prayer. As we come to You now, we pray Your blessings upon this meeting with our city officials and upon our mayor, the Honorable Carr Bartlett. Lord Jesus, bless all who serve us and who have dedicated themselves to the ministry of others. Bless our city that we love so much. In the strong name of Jesus, who has called us to be servants of all. Amen.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Dan, would you care to tell us about your passion play coming up?
I'd be happy to. I was in our pharmacy in Swananoa, PSA, and Brother Mike Tolley asked me, well, which person are you in the passion play, the shepherd? And I had to say, no, I'm not the shepherd. I am one of the companions of Paul. But the First Baptist Church of Swananoa at 503 Park Street will present its annual passion play entitled Beyond the Cross. There will be 6 presentations beginning March the 30th and 31st, which is a Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m., and on Sunday at 1 p.m., on Sunday, April the 1st at 3 p.m., which is a matinee. Then we'll follow that with April 6th and 7th, Friday and Saturday at 7, and a matinee on Saturday, April the 7th at 3 p.m. While there are many who are familiar with the Easter story, the script created for this year's Passion Play depicts a cutting-edge storyline which helps the audience to understand how Jesus' death and resurrection applies to us and our lives today. The story revolves around great biblical men like Peter, John, Thomas, Stephen, and Paul, who surrendered everything to follow Christ and to make Him known. First Baptist of Swananoa has consistently looked upon the Passion Play as a gift to the community. It is not the work of one, but of many who have volunteered their times and talents in ways that can make the play a reality. However, one constant remains in each presentation: the desire to lift and honor our Lord Jesus Christ. Everyone is welcome. For free tickets or further information, call the church office at 828-686-5123 or visit our website, fbcswananoa.org. Child care will be provided.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
We do have a proclamation this evening. At this time, I'd like for the Owen High School varsity cheerleaders to come forward.
So hard we made you tap out. Now we're back once again and we're ready to win. We'll down to you all.
Thank you, ladies. If you would turn around now, I'll read a proclamation. Whereas the people of Black Mountain take this opportunity to congratulate the Charles D. Owen High School varsity cheerleaders for winning the state championship that was held on Saturday, February 11, 2012 at the Raleigh Convention Center. And whereas their official title is North Carolina Cheerleading Coaches Association Small Varsity Non-Tumble Division 2012 State Champions. And whereas this accomplishment of the squad is due to their hard work, commitment, and conditioning skills under the direction of their coach, Jennifer Chapman. And whereas we acknowledge that cheerleading is an important sport for individual members as well as for the community. Now therefore, I, Carl Bartlett, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen and the citizens of Black Mountain, deem it an honor and pleasure to congratulate the 2012 Owen High School varsity cheerleaders for this significant achievement. I have a copy here for each one of you with this proclamation. So. Anybody get two? Good. Darlene, it came out even.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. This time we'll have citizen comments. First is Joanne Brannon.
My name is Joanne Brannon. I bring you greetings from the Town Square Committee. We are real, we're alive, and we're doing stuff. Have you seen this? Has anybody seen this? This is a hot off the press brochure, and it is for you. It is for all of us. In this brochure, we have a brief history of the town square and the process we have undertaken to this point. And there is also in this brochure a description of the concept design that was approved by this body about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But if you don't know what they are, specifically there is green space, there is a market space, and there is public parking. And beyond that, on the back of it, we have chosen to use the names of the mountains that surround this area. And so we start with Miami and go all the way to Mount Mitchell, and there are a good many in between. So this is an opportunity for you to look at it, and there is the opportunity here to make contributions. And so we particularly need funding, and so that's part of our assignment, is to raise money to do the creation and the development of the town square. I would say to you that the Black Mountain Parks and Greenways Foundation will be the recipient of the funds. This foundation is a tax-free organization, a 503c agency. So if you wish to make a contribution, we accept things like real money, we accept checks, we accept stocks, we accept property that has value. If stock transactions are done, they are handled through Edward Jones Brokerage, Scott Roy being the principal there. Some monies have begun to come in, and we're glad about that. Presently, I think we can report that we have about $2,500 receivables. We have another $10,000 stock transaction that is in process. We've not actually received the money, but it's coming. I would also give you a bit of an inspirational story that may help others. We have a citizen in this town who has committed to a $100 a month contribution for a year. That's very impressive, and it may be important for you to hear that. Beyond that, we're going to have a ribbon cutting. It is scheduled for Friday, March 23rd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you are invited. Every one of you are invited. At that point, the mayor will cut a ribbon. Do you have big scissors?
Yes.
He's going to cut the ribbon. And at that point, the town will use its own equipment and its staff to begin to remove concrete and to begin to make this a reality. So, we invite you to be a part of it. We invite you to get excited about it. We invite you to send your money, but we invite you to be included and involved in what is going to be happening. If you help us, this will become a reality. We know it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, these brochures are on the table by the door. Get one before you leave.
Alan Green.
Honorable Mayor, Board of Aldermen, Alan Green, 335 Lookout Terrace. Am I glad I got my letter to the editor in last week? I'm not opposed of parks. I think a lot of work has been done on this town square project. And I just think it's bad timing right now. I'm very surprised that we're going to turn dirt that quickly. As I put in my letter, and I might as well forget these notes I wrote down here. As I put in my letter last week, are you going to actually start this project before you have enough money to complete the project? Because as soon as you start, we taxpayers are going to be on the hook. If you don't come up with the money, we're going to pay for it. Right now, the Board of Aldermen, previous Board of Aldermen, raised our taxes 2.5 cents on 100 just to make the payments for this property. If we start looking at $1.5 million, $2 million, or whatever to develop this into what this project and the layout that y'all did, you did get some good work, and that's going to look beautiful. But we got to face reality here. Our tax dollars are going way up, people. When you stop and think, as soon as they put a shovel to that ground, we are on the hook. Right there. So you think 2.5 cents is something? If matching funds on some of these, donations and all of that are not met, if, I don't know, I think you said $2,500 and you're looking at $12,000, so you don't even have $100,000 yet. Okay? So I'm very surprised. I'm surprised that my Board of Aldermen will allow them to put one shovel on that ground until we got the money to pay for that. Now, I'm talking to every one of you up here on that board. You need to go back and we had a compromising solution back a year or so ago. And then we had a special call meeting at an inopportune time when the taxpayers of this town, the common person, could not come here. You had it at 3 o'clock on one evening. Don't tell me that that wasn't staged, because there's a lot of people out there saying that it was. I don't have anything in writing or anything like that, but it's just odd that 3 o'clock we would have a special call meeting and one alderman, because there was 200 people here, how many of them were voting people in this town? Just because you own property in this town and your tax dollars will go up, if you happen to be a store owner, you're going to pass that on to the customer as a cost of doing business. Me, a house owner, I can't do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rick Watson.
As many of you are aware, with an continued ongoing lawsuit with Ingalls for 3.5 years, we finally came to an agreement on an easement, basically because they asked us, finally. and we gave an honorable easement to Ingalls, a private easement. And on the 27th of February, the Land and Sky came up here and was in their presentation. I was made aware on February the 23rd that the town of Black Mountain, per paragraph 4, if anybody hadn't seen it, I'm sure all you aldermen have. The town of Black Mountain, whereas a signee has requested, a signee being the town of Black Mountain, and a signor has agreed, a signor being the easement that we gave to Ingalls, them being the assignor, has agreed to convey any and all rights a signer may have in the easement area to a signee, and a signor is willing to assign its rights to the signee. Basically what that was for was to give that right-of-way to the town of Black Mountain so it could become public property. That was not my intention. It was a private easement, period. Now, after some debate, somebody agreed not to go that route. But during those 4 days, it cost me $1,089.35 for my lawyer to defend my easement. That was very plain. It was private. Nobody even called and said, do you mind giving it to the Black Mountain too? Again, miscommunication. Now, here's a copy of the lawsuit, which included me and my wife versus Ingalls Markets and the town of Black Mountain for misuse of an easement. Very plain. I don't think I ought to have to pay this bill. I want to know who in the town of Black Mountain, per paragraph 4 of this assignment of easement, requested, because somebody from the town of Black Mountain requested Ingalls to give Black Mountain an easement. And I want to know who done it. Now, I was told by Ted Sandler, the Ingalls attorney, 5 minutes before this presentation started, that they weren't going to go that route. It's a little late after I done spent $1,000 to defend something that we spent 3.5 years coming to an agreement on. I don't mind paying bills, but nobody's going to stick a bill on me and then just walk away. Nobody even mentioned it. Nobody even said, no, we're sorry we inconvenienced you. I got a $1,000 bill here, and it's my opinion that who in the town of Black Mountain asked Ingalls to give them that easement owes this attorney bill. Or I'll take them to small claims court and we'll let a judge decide it. But I want to know who asked for this. I'd like to know. I want an answer. I'm going to stand here till I get one.
I don't think everybody on this board did. Time's up.
No, it ain't up.
Steve, take him out.
You sure it's the route you want to go?
Nobody on this board signed anything that, we're telling you, we didn't do it.
So you're saying Ingalls did it? I'm
I
just
got no
asking
idea
for
who
an
did it.
answer.
I got no idea who did it.
I suggest y'all Google Carl Bartlett, Gordon Myers,
You need to sit down.
DOT.
You need to sit down.
Yeah.
You need to sit down.
Google these people.
Can I make a comment on this,
Sure.
please? And I told Rick this. When Ingalls' attorney contacted me, he called me, left me a message on voicemail. And this may be a part of the misunderstanding, I don't know. Left me a message on voicemail, and I called him back, and he told me that he had prepared this, first I knew about it at all. He had prepared this and asked me to forward this on to the town attorney. But in his email back to me, he didn't say, thank you for returning my call. He said, thank you for calling me. I did not call him. I did not make that initial call. I never would. Got no reason to whatsoever. But I just wanted you to know that I had no part in that whatsoever.
Thank you, that's all I asked.
Dave Landy.
Dave Landy, 208 Paget Town. Geez, no disrespect to anybody, and a lot of respect for the board that went out in the last election, a lot of respect for the board that sits here. I think we should really, and I know that this is a tough moment right now to be saying this, but I do think that the results of the election were pretty clear. The town wanted a change. It was an overwhelming change. I think that we perhaps should all try to take a little bit of a chill, to try to get along with each other a little bit here, to try to work with, I know, very good people on this board. It's disturbing to me to see in the newspaper that they're saying, well, there's no accountability on this board. There's no accountability in the town government. I don't believe that to be the truth. There are good people on this board, and these are people who are quiet people by and large, who will listen to people. I think that if people have a grievance with the board, they should make it in a quiet fashion and try to see us get along here. That there's such a lot of animosity that's hung over from the last election, and I don't think that it necessarily needs to be this way. I think these are all good people here who will listen if you're willing to speak to them. And I think that if we can step in that direction, to just try to get along with each other here, that it will serve the town government an awful lot better than what the rancor and the divisiveness that came before this. And that's the one thing that I can honestly say. I hope that perhaps we might go in that direction. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. Richard Hudson.
My name's Richard Hudson, 106 Pleasant Drive Circle. I'm up here tonight. I finally obtained a copy of the actual management agreement with Billy Casper Golf, and took a good while reading it and digesting it. And in doing so, I have a few concerns that I'd like to bring before the board at this time. Number one is Billy Casper is operating this management agreement through a Virginia company. And the way I understand it, and the way it seems to be laid out in this management agreement, is Billy Casper is a conduit for town money. They are all supposedly, the only thing we're doing with them is contracting with them to manage the golf course. And all the money and all these kind of things are ours. Okay? If that is the case, then I think that the town is in violation of the general statutes in the 159-24, 129-25, 159-26. 124 says that the town shall appoint a finance officer, which we have one. I think it's Dean or Al one. I'm not.
Dean.
Okay. Number two, the finance officer, and this is in 159.25, finance officer shall have the following powers and duties. He shall keep the accounts of the local government in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles of governmental accounting, blah, blah. He shall disperse all funds of the local government or public authority. he shall receive and deposit all monies to the local government or public authority. He shall supervise the investment of idle funds of the local government or public authority. And then it goes on in 26 to set out some guidelines about the accounting system, which obviously, if we're not doing it, then those things are being violated also. It would be and another thing is that all town funds are required to be deposited in a North Carolina bank. Now, they may be being done that, but I don't know that for a fact. And if they are, in fact, they're supposed to be collateralized, and I don't know if Billy Casper knows that. But I would like this board to get a legal opinion as to whether, in fact, the town is in violation of these general statutes, as I believe they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn Huff.
I'm Marilyn Huff, 50 Bethel Drive. Mr. Mayor and board members, Black Mountain is a great place to live. We are just really happy to be in this community, and it's wonderful to see these young women in such good condition who are a cheerleader squad from Owen. I just want to encourage you to continue in the direction that you've gone in terms of this being a leader as a healthy community as you listen to the recommendation about a tobacco-free community. So I just want to thank you for that. I think it's important for our town to lead the way in this and other ways. So I think it's really for the future of our children. We know that smoking and obesity are the two killers in this country, and our children are the ones who are involved in that. And so thank you for your consideration and continued leadership.
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda. I believe it's as presented. Al, would you like to go ahead and
address that one? Okay, sir. You have, on the consent agenda, you have adoption of the minutes, February 13th, agenda work session, 13th regular session, 27th special call meeting and public hearing, and February 27th closed session. Under item B, you have resolution for renaming the Black Mountain Fire Station number 2. Mayor, would you like to read that resolution? I think that's one that probably should read.
Okay.
I know it's near and dear to all of our firemen's hearts and probably all the people of the town of Black Mountain.
Okay, whereas Charles E. Arnett started answering the call to duty as a citizen of Black Mountain in 1936 at the age of 19. And whereas he spent the next 23 years answering fire and rescue calls whenever he was close enough to hear the alarm sound from the fire station. And whereas in 1959 he became an official member of the Black Mountain Fire Company. And whereas Charles E. Arnett served his community as a volunteer and very active member for the next 49 years. And whereas over a span of 72 years he spent countless hours responding to emergencies while training and teaching young firefighters the way of those before us. And whereas Charles E. Arnett played a major role in bringing the Black Mountain Fire Department to where it is today, a Class 4 rated department. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Aldermen of the town of Black Mountain hereby proclaim and approve change the name of the Black Mountain Fire Department Station number 2 at 19 White Pine Drive to the Charles E. Arnett Station.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next item, item C, and this is kind of an addition to one we did last month. Remember, we approved the wellhead protection area update, I guess I should say, for the town, and our town attorney told us that we needed a resolution to include the maps. of what you saw last month. You've got that resolution plus the maps. Board members and mayor, you have that in front of you. On D, we have a resolution, and this is one I thought we had done a long time ago, but this is the naming of the bridge on Interstate 40 at exit 65 in honor of Richard Petty. E is a budget amendment, and this has to do simply with moving money. Sounds like a lot of money, and it is, $974,345 debt that was inadvertently put, it has to do with sewer lines, and this was put into the general fund debt, and it should be water fund. So we're simply moving that from one fund to the other. F, we have a budget amendment, and this is for Parks and Rec, and this is $200 from Black Mountain Elementary PTO, and $500 Grovestone and Sand, I believe, for a Valentine's Day race to cover that. Item G, another budget amendment, and this is one that I asked you to do. Realizing, I didn't know this, Tina Lance, the manager at SunTrust Bank, heads up our Owen District Little League program, and they do not have money in this year's budget. We've been funding them at $5,000, and so I had asked you folks to do $2,500 for them, and you agreed to do that to hopefully get them through this year. H, Deputy Fire Chief Vehicle Allowance. The Deputy Chief's position, as you know, is an exempt position. What dictates no comp time or compensation for over 80-hour pay period. Responsibility of this position has always been to respond to calls both while on and off duty. The Deputy Chief is on call 24 hours a day, often responds with their personal vehicle. Currently, the town does not pay for any portion of gas or maintenance on the vehicle, even though it is used daily for fire department town business. We're asking that $125 a pay period be added to the Deputy Fire Chief's pay to give him that for vehicle allowance. And this is one that I got at the last moment. I asked, I guess at the agenda meeting, if we could add this, and this is a proposal to approve $36,000 for, this is for Land and Sky Regional Council, and this is for our mountain mobility that comes to Black Mountain. You have before you, this is $36,000 over 2 years, and this runs from this contract they sent ahead of time, but it runs from January 2013 to December 2014, asking for $36,000. Now you've got before you, I gave you number of trips. Thought you might want to see that, and also their proposed budget. But we're asking that you approve $36,000 at this time for them. And I believe that concludes all of our consent agenda items.
A motion to approve consent items A through I. In discussion?
Yeah, well, I'd like to pull I. We can vote on the rest and then just discuss it.
Okay. Okay, we can pull I. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then I guess we need to,
Yeah, I just was looking at this, trying to figure out so it's $36,000 for 2 years, so obviously that's $18,000 a year. Correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Now, the amount of money that is charged on our vehicular tax, I think was $5. Did it go to 10? You know, that's.
For a ride, is that
No,
what?
no, I'm saying citizens in Black Mountain that own vehicles pay an extra fee.
I believe that's 5.
it can go to
All-
10, but it is 5.
It
can
is
be.
5 right now.
Okay, it's 5.
Yes, sir.
Now, are we using some of that money, or does all that money go to the bus route?
I'm gonna defer to Dean on that one. Does any of that money go to the bus route, Dean?
No, it doesn't.
I didn't think so.
So is this where we're receiving, is this the revenue stream then that will pay for this?
There is no revenue stream. No, there is no revenue stream. We just have to appropriate this money within our budget, but we don't have a revenue stream to cover any part of it.
Where does the $5 go to?
It's an unrestricted general fund revenue, automobile licenses.
Okay, and we generate from that,
I'm gonna say 25,000 a year, but that's a.
Okay. okay, so that then really this money will be coming out of that money. I mean, that's gonna
Yeah,
be, that's
technically.
gonna be the revenue generator.
Technically, yes.
Will be police.
Yes, and we probably gotta add another 11, is that right, Dean? Maybe another 11,000 or so. We get about 25, did you say?
We only pay for it on an annual basis, so don't we?
Oh, I'm sorry, 18, so that more than covers, you're right.
Yeah.
18 versus 25, yeah, so that more than
Okay.
covers.
All right,
Sure.
that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we had a revenue
Good
source for
point, yeah,
this.
good point.
Okay, motion to approve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Communications from board commissions and outside agencies, the annual report of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Good evening. My name is Bill Munn. I live at 700 Laurel Avenue. I'm the Historic Preservation Commission Chair, and here is our annual report. The purpose of the Historic Preservation Commission is to assist the Board of Aldermen in preserving and raising awareness of structures that have local, state, and federal historic significance. The Commission's responsibility includes recommending areas to be designated as historic districts or individual structures, building sites, areas, or objects to be designated as landmarks, reviewing proposals for alterations, demolition, and new construction within the regulatory downtown historic district, and educating the community about the town's historic resources. Activities over the past year include, which was a pretty slow year for us, 12 minor works, which includes signs, awnings, repairs. We only had 3 applications for certificates of appropriateness, one being the covered deck over the old watershed, the front of the Trailhead Restaurant, which they took down and put in all the brickwork and new doors. That'll be the main entrance for that place. And the removal of the old double doors and replaced with the garage-style door at 106 Montreat Road, which is the Black Mountain Police Department. Commission members and staff fulfilled training requirements to maintain the certified local government standing for the town by participating in a workshop on September 16th at Wake Forest. And our local historic preservation office was a co-sponsor of that. Also, a letter of acknowledgement for the completion of the CLG report detailing the Commission's activities for 2011 from the State Historic Preservation Office. Last month, we had a visit from Annie McDonnell and Jennifer Caddy, and Annie is the preservation specialist, and Jennifer is the restoration specialist. They came by and let us know that they could offer training. She said that training sessions for the commission, elected officials, planning boards, or other municipal employees is available through the preservation office. That office is located at 176 Ricefield Road in the former VA hospital, Building 13. It's also a contributing property of the Otine VA Hospital, National Register Historic District in Nashville. The commission's also planning a tour of those facilities next month. The Historic Commission looks forward to continuing its efforts in the coming year, working with the Board of Aldermen to maintain historic preservation efforts. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you. Good
You bet.
report. The biannual report of the Beautification Commission.
Mayor, Board of Aldermen. My name is Bob Wardwell, and I'm the co-chair of the Black Mountain Beautification Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight to talk to you about the work of the Beautification Committee, a group of dedicated volunteers who do their best to maintain public sites in town for the benefit of all. So before I start, I'd like to thank a couple people who've been invaluable to us. Darlene Wissenat's been tremendous support for all of us throughout these years, and Jamie Matthews and the public service crew. They have really been terrific. So I have a short presentation to follow, and hopefully you recognize this sign. This is the one that we put up at the South Gate down by Henson's. Proud to welcome people to Black Mountains. We have our mission statement. We basically, want to make sure that we honor the natural beauty of the surrounding mountains, all the while seeking to reflect that beauty on the streets and in the lives of its citizens. So we take that to heart, and that's what we do. Picture very special to me, as most of you know, Willie Headley, great friend, wonderful citizen, really meant a lot to me, and really proud to have known her, and she's an inspiration to all of us whenever we're out there working, because Willie was always there with us in mind and body, and now she'll be there in spirit. So we're really very pleased. There's a little history of the committee. It was founded back in 2000. It was a landscape master plan developed in 2002, and we still we work today with the support of certainly the Public Services Department have been great, and the mayor and the Board of Aldermen. We appreciate your support very much. So a copy of the landscape master plan. We use this when we develop sites around town. We look to replant, when we look to replace. We have a native plant policy we've just recently adopted that we'll now replace just with native plant material. So that's our goal, and we think that that's a good goal and very, very achievable. Again, we strive to maintain and nurture. This is from our mission statement: strive to maintain and nurture town gardens and green areas. This was the first major project that we did back in 2004, the well house down on Sutton Avenue. We planted around that, put it in that stone wall, and continue to maintain that to this day. Another view of some of the plantings going up the walk to the Black Mountain Center for the Arts. The daylilies, the ironwork came from Black Mountain Ironworks in our effort to support local businesses, and they certainly support us. Establish more natural gardens in designated open areas. This is behind the Bilo, the dog park area, the Riverwalk Park. We've developed, put in some native plant material back there, and we look to continue to work in that area to develop in a more natural and native way. Works with town groups to realize this vision of Black Mountain as a hospitable and scenic mountain community. That certainly is all of our goals for everybody who lives here. This was the town hall project that we did out front in conjunction with the Public Services Department. Hopefully all of you have seen it as you come in every day. We're very proud of the effort, the design, the installation, and certainly could not have done it without the support of the Public Services Department. So work with the litter sweep and Adopt a Street campaign. This is always a good time, picking up trash around the neighborhood with our family and friends. The Beautification Committee, we have about 20 volunteers. We maintain 17 public sites. This is town property that we maintain. We contributed over 2,500 hours of service in the last year, and Figuring the minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, that equals over $18,000 of in-kind services to the town. That public service does not have to pay to maintain those sites. We do that just strictly as volunteers. Here we are out working on the west gate, pulling weeds, cutting trees, or cutting back vegetation, planting, mulching. We kind of do it all. We enjoy getting our hands dirty very well, very much. So, the public restrooms, hopefully, certainly every time I'm in town, they're well landscaped, people using them. People hopefully understand that, our contribution is to making Black Mountain as enjoyable and as scenic a town as we possibly can. We work with the Women's Correctional Facility, one of our partners, both in their greenhouse, and we're fortunate to get them to come out, provide them with some opportunities to get out of the prison, get out of the correctional facility, and work on some of our plots. One of my favorite pictures of Willie Headley down in the right-hand corner there. That epitomizes Willie very well with her hat, and certainly she was inspirational to all of us, but the Women's Correctional Facility has been a great partner with us. These are some of the community organizations that we're currently working with. Asheville Greenworks, we just partnered with them. Black Mountain Center for the Arts, Buncombe County Master Gardeners, Greenways Commission, Urban Forestry, Rainbow Recycling, Parks and Greenway Foundation, and Town Square. So we try to be as broad-based as we possibly can. We look for partnerships in any way we can, whether it's volunteers for help or just building good relationships among the individuals, the citizens in the town. Community gardens, we work with the community garden with Diana McCall at the Park and Recreation Department. John Wilson has always been a great supporter of us in the beautification committee, and we look forward to continuing this. We contribute to the sculpture stroll sponsored by the Black Mountain Center for the Arts and the Parks and Recs Department and the beautification committee. Is a great picture of a family enjoying the sculpture that was down at Tomahawk a couple years ago. This is our new inspiration. A beautiful town creates pride in the community. That's certainly our goal. This was our contribution to the Black Mountain Holiday Parade a couple years ago when we dressed as elves. We also sponsor the Beautification Awards. We used to do commercial awards, but in the last year we've decided we'd like to focus more on residential, getting more community involvement. So now we have two awards. One is the best flower garden and one is the best vegetable garden. That's advertised in the Black Mountain News. And we encourage people to participate. They receive a gift certificate from Melly Mac's Garden Shack now for winning the award. We also have the Hay Rack project in town. We're very fortunate to have a lot of businesses in town that support us, that water these hay racks, that help us plant them. The plants actually come from the greenhouse at the Women's Correctional Facility. So we order the plants. We grow them with the help of the Women's Correctional Facility, and they come out and they actually help us plant these hay racks, and we appreciate all the businesses in town who continue to water them and deadhead the flowers for us. I'd like to invite you all to come to this year's garden show and sale. It's our big fundraiser. It's May 19th, 2012. This year it's going to be at the Monte Vista, on the grounds of the Monte Vista Hotel. We generally had it down on Sutton Avenue, but we're going to try a different venue this year. There's a lot of space up there, and we invite anybody in town who's interested to come to the garden show and sale and support all the great vendors that are going to be there. So May 19th, 2012. This is the sign that was put up down right at the exit to Interstate 40, down further down the south gate. I can't say it any better. I mean, our goal is to make people feel welcome in Black Mountain. And we meet the third Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. and we welcome all the individuals who share our vision of working in the town and continuing to make Black Mountain a beautiful place to live, work, and visit. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to start.
Questions? Good report. Tell Van that the board and mayor had a better understanding of your presentation than his.
Well, my son's on urban forestry too, so I will tell him as well. So. But thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your support very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Sure.
Can you go back to Best Flower Garden?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw who that was.
Yeah, that
was Al White.
That's Al White. He was our water superintendent for many, many years here. Did a great job. Took us a long ways with our water.
And I just want to recognize him. That's his wife Christine and his daughter and son-in-law in that picture. Yeah, there it is, Best Flower Garden. Big Al White. Thank you.
Vegetable garden, brother.
Huh?
Vegetable, I think.
No, he was best flower.
Best flower. Yeah.
It was?
Flower, even though he has a great vegetable garden.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
He gave us a lot of good years.
ABC Board update.
Got one for me? Okay.
Yeah, I got
Thank
one
you.
for everybody else, I just didn't have that. Always one.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Rick Spalding. I'm the new chairman of the ABC board here in Black Mountain. And I thought that I would introduce myself and give a report on how the ABC store is doing. We started, as you know, mixed beverage sales started around November of last year. And since November 11 of 2011 to now, we've generated $25,530 worth of mixed beverage sales, which is quite a bit to start out with. The ABC store now has 7 mixed beverage accounts, so there's 7 restaurants or private clubs or stuff like that that have accounts with us. As to general sales, I'll go through November through February starting with November of 2011. Our sales were up $6,663, of which $5,050 was due to the mixed beverage sales that we had, and $1,613 was the increase in regular bottle sales for that month, which is up a little bit, and sometimes we're not up from the year before, so that's okay. December 2011, sales were up $13,159, $8,561 of which was for mixed beverage sales, and $4,597 was an increase in our regular bottle sales for that month compared to the previous year, which is quite a bit of increase for us. In January 2012, our sales were up $10,577, $5,842 of which was the addition of mixed beverage sales, and $4,734 was additional regular sales. Both of those figures for December and January for the increase in regular sales is substantial for us because there's no real reason for it. We know that mixed beverage is new stuff, and it's going to start, and it's going to increase, and it's going to have a certain amount of fiscal level there. But we don't have any reason to know why the regular sales were up nearly $4,700 for December and January, but they were. February sales were up $12,474, $6,397 attributed to mixed beverage sales, and $6,077 attributed to an increase in regular sales. Again, that's a big figure for us. It beats, I think that we beat all the states. The state averages everything, and we compare ourselves to the state, and I think we beat the state for November through February. I think we were ahead of the state. Now, that rarely happens, and I'm going to give credit to the people that work at our store and how well they've been doing at selling, promoting, decorating, and trying to make the store look as good as it could. So give them a lot of credit there. The board's portion of the mixed beverage tax since November of 11, when this started, is $2,110. Now that doesn't sound like a lot to me, but when we on a bottle of a fifth of liquor, we make so much money, and it's very little bit of the money. We get just a sliver of the money, and that is our profit off that bottle of liquor. When it's sold as a mixed beverage bottle of liquor, there's an additional $3.75 flat tacked on that fifth of liquor. And out of that $3.75, Our board receives 45% of that money. 50% goes to the state, 5% goes to either rehab or something of that nature, and then 45% of it comes directly to us. And so in that, since November of last year, we've gotten $2,110 of extra profit that was beyond what we normally make on our liquor, just to try to explain that. I've included for the Alderman a profit and loss statement, and you can look at that, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them, but our bookkeeper probably is the one who, I'll try if you have any of those. I have a letter that I'd like to read to the board and to the citizens of the town now. To the Board of Aldermen, to the citizens of Black Mountain. On February 13th, 2012, at your town board meeting, you chose to extend the courtesy to Mary Sneed of accepting her resignation as board chairman and allowed her to remain on the ABC board in lieu of holding a hearing for her removal as the ABC board had requested. 2 days later, on February 15th, Mary Sneed went to the ABC store and threatened and harassed 3 of our employees, telling them if they did not want to work with her, they could either quit or she would have the ABC Commission take the store and turn it over to Buncombe County. This threat could result in the loss of our employees' jobs, the asset of the land, building, and inventory, and the $48,000 a year the store distributes to the town. At the February 16, 2012 ABC board meeting, Mary Sneed was asked to return signed originals of 3 store policies that were approved and signed during our November 11th ABC board meeting. Mrs. Sneed stated that she did not have those and did not know where they were. During the ensuing discussion regarding the documents, a citizen in the audience, Elaine Lautzenheiser, admitted that she was in possession of the documents. Upon further discussion, it was discovered that Mary Sneed had given all of the ABC board documents to Ms. Lautzenheiser. Mrs. Sneed was ordered to retrieve all of the signed policies and ABC board documents and return them to the ABC store by 5 p.m. on Friday, February 17th, 2012. She was also asked to provide a copy of her letter of resignation for the ABC board records. To date, we have received 3 pieces of paper from Mary Sneed, 1 signed original of each of the 3 store policies. We have not received signed originals of the ABC board minutes, nor any of the other board-generated documents requested. At this point, we do not know where any of these documents are. This is a serious violation of the public records law, and Vice Chairman Deborah Wooten and I are requesting a removal of Mary Sneed from the ABC board. That's all I have with my report. Are there any questions?
Any questions, Rick? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Before we move on, I want to address this issue. I was at that meeting along with 3 other board members. That is the meeting of the ABC store. It was held back in February. And I too was a little bit stunned to find out that these original documents had been removed from the ABC store. And not only were they not in the possession of the chairman, but they were in the possession of a private citizen. Later on in the meeting, we also found out that the minutes of the board meetings, of the ABC board meetings, that the original signed minutes were not at the store either. She was requested to bring these back. And as Rick has said in his letter, the policies have been returned, but a lot of these minutes have not. Just some research here. State Statute 132-3 says no public official may destroy, sell, or loan, otherwise dispose of any public record in accordance with general statutes, so and so and so and so, without the consent of the Department of Culture Resources. Also, Statute 132-7 says all public records shall be kept in the building in which they are ordinarily used. Now, these are public documents. Public documents can be requested by any citizen of the town for a copy. You can walk in there, you can phone them. They will be more than happy to provide you a document. But the original documents need to be back where they are supposed to be. It's because of that I would like to bring up discussion to the board and some guidance as to how we're going to deal with this. This is serious stuff here. And I would like to, I don't know if I'll make a motion at this point, but I think we need to discuss about having a hearing to bring into light exactly what is going on here. This is not fair to the citizens of the town for this type of action to continue on. So I just open it up for some discussion on the board as to how we need to proceed and maybe get some guidance from
the legal counsel. I think he sent three, I think we've received 3 things that you've said can be done.
As this board knows of my conflict in this matter, but I will pass on to you the information that was provided to me by Mike Crowell and Fleming Bell at the School of Government. When I went to them and said that we've had an issue in the ABC board, and I laid out to those folks what I've told you I think the law is when it comes to dealing with a member of the ABC Board Commission, they didn't tell me I was wrong. But they said when you have a conflict on this board, there are 3 possibilities. One is the ABC Commission can hear it, obviously, but they have refused it. There's the possibility this board could ask them, tell them that this board wants them to have that hearing. The second alternative, or actually the first alternative Mr. Crowell outlined was that there is that court of necessity type thing that when there's nobody else available, you have to hear it in spite of your conflicts. But there's also a third that's under in the Administrative Code of the State of North Carolina and the Administrative Procedures Act, where there are a number of things or areas where if you have a grievance, a commission can hear it. The Real Estate Commission has the same ruling. The commission can either hear it or they can assign it to an administrative law judge who hears it and makes his recommendation to the board. And then that board has to either follow those recommendations or be able to set out why they didn't follow the recommendation. And those are the 2 things the school said. You hear it because you got it, nobody else can. Second, you can be a little stronger, request the ABC Commission hear it. Or third, you can select somebody to act in the capacity of an administrative law judge who is neutral, who can hear it and make their recommendations. And those are the 3 possibilities that came out of the school.
Okay, you've heard legal counselors. Any comments?
Well, first of all, I don't want to push it back down the ABC board or the ABC Commission in Raleigh's back to them. I don't think that's an option. We've got too many eyes looking at us as far as the town is concerned. I'd like to suggest and recommend that we use option 3, and that's have a independent legal ease of some.
In the absence of a law judge probably willing to serve the town of Black Mountain, my recommendation is that you select an attorney with some background in this kind of law who's also a trained arbitrator.
I think that way both sides on this issue, they get to present their evidence as they can or may, and both sides get a chance to be forthcoming, and that's be the fairest thing I think that we can do as a town.
Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion?
Don, let's clarify just what you're saying. Go a little bit further in detail on what you're requesting.
If you have an independent, somebody that's not involved on this board, somebody that can come in with a clean slate and can listen and go through an arbitration and review all the issues that seem to keep piling up on both sides, then that person
can make a recommendation based on what's accurate and factual, and make a recommendation to this board. And be once and for all done with this.
Bob, are you good with that?
The board is not bound to abide by that recommendation, but they do have that option of, but yeah, that's what Ron's saying also. That's another avenue.
There is a process and procedure under the State Procedures Act. This isn't something you make up on the wing and try to make it work. Like I said, this is used by other state commissions whereby a commission can pass the buck, if you want to call it that, but appointed, and they use administrative law judges, but a trained arbitrator would serve the same purpose. Who hears they have a formal hearing, and he hears the evidence, makes a decision. His decision isn't a decision, but a recommendation back to this board. I will say that this board is, although not bound by that decision, this board, if it does not follow the decision, doesn't take the recommendation of that law judge or the arbitrator, you got to be able to state a basis why you did not follow it.
Right.
You making that in the form of a motion, Don?
I am.
Okay.
You need to do the motion first.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Just a minute.
I think in our last meeting where this originally came up, there was a lot of discussion, dispute, whatever you want to call it, amongst this board. And at the time that it came before us and was kicked down to Raleigh, I think the issue was the actions of Ms. Sneed as the board chair. And that's when the folks in Raleigh didn't want to get involved in it and basically kicked it back to us. Ms. Sneed, on her part, she elected to step down from the board chair and to allow someone else to be voted into it as a way of hopefully alleviate those issues, if I'm correct. Like Mr. Sobel said, we were all at the last board meeting, and I think at that meeting was pretty well set out to Ms. Sneed what she could and could not do by the other board members. I mean, even to all the way to the point of telling her that she could not have any contact with the folks in Raleigh on her own, that it had to be approved by the other members of the board. Why Ms. Sneed hadn't turned in the other documents, I don't know. I'd love to hear from her why she hadn't done that, and if that is available, where she could still have the opportunity to do it. I think you're on the right path in that she has relinquished her post as the board chair, and I would say give folks the time. I mean, we had a citizen come up here a little while ago, and Mr. Lanning and talk about people learning how to get along. That if we can be a fair example on this board to where it can trickle down to the other boards and commissions we have, giving them the opportunity. She has been duly reprimanded by the other members of the board, and I think it's only fair to just give her the opportunity to try to see what she can do.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, Ms. Sneed has been given, this has been almost 4 weeks now that she had the opportunity to return these documents, and she has chosen not to do so. She said at that meeting that she would comply and have those documents there by that Friday at 5 o'clock. So I think that the ABC board gave her plenty of time to comply with what she was instructed to do, and she has chosen not to do this and continued to violate state statutes. So I'm definitely in favor of moving forward with getting an administrative judge or an arbitrator to proceed on and bring this and bring it up to a hearing.
Well, these the 5 documents that are missing, are they 5 signed documents? Do we know they're signed, or Rick, what's?
Are you asking me?
Yes, please.
We're missing 16 months of minutes of our meetings, and the town, I believe, is missing 12 months of their copies of the meetings. So the town's missing Mary Sneed's first year on board, and we're missing 16 out of the 18 months. We have December of 2011 and January of 2012, and that's the only 2 sets of minutes we have in over a year and a half of her being the chairman of the board. We're missing 16 copies, not 4.
No comment?
I think under the circumstances, guys, the only way we're gonna get to the bottom of this and be fair about it is to have somebody that's can listen to both sides and get it all over and done with, and have somebody that's fair and doesn't have a dog in the fight.
Make that motion
I do.
to appoint someone, a neutral third party, to conduct the hearing and recommend an action to the board.
I do.
Who would choose that person?
Legal counsel, will you handle getting someone to do that?
I will provide the town manager with a list.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
That'd be good.
That's acceptable,
Is that
I think.
acceptable, everybody? Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, one question to the board. Once the town attorney provides me with that list, do I bring that back to you? Or what's the
pleasure of the board?
What's your pleasure on that?
I'd say go with it. That's my opinion.
Just take it and go with it.
Okay. Okay.
Al, that's a lot of responsibility. I hate to put you in the middle like that.
That's
You
okay.
comfortable with that?
I'm okay. I'm fine with that. I just want to know what you guys want, and I'm fine. I'm okay.
If there's an issue and you feel in a week or so or whenever that you come up with this and that, we'll just call a special meeting.
I'll bring it on board. I will. I'll do that. Thank
We
you.
could discuss it further.
Ron, doing those arbitration hearings or whatever, would those be open to the public?
Those are open meetings, that's correct.
Next item is Billy Casper Goff budget presentation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Billy Casper Golf, I'd like to thank the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for this opportunity this evening. By way of introduction, my name's Nick Bednar. I'm the Regional Manager for Billy Casper Golf Southeast Region. To my right here is Mike Stevens. Mike is our Regional Director of Agronomy for the Southeast Region. A couple of folks at the back of the room, if y'all could stand. Our Regional Support Team on the far left, Steve Semino, who's our Regional Marketing Director for the Southeast. In the middle, Brian Loveday, our Regional General Manager. And on the right, Tony Chancy, who is our Vice President of Operations for Billy Casper Golf. And behind those gentlemen, most of you probably know our Superintendent John Shaw on the left and Brent Miller on the right. So I've been asked to keep this presentation to about 5 minutes, so I promise I'll do my best. Okay, so our agenda for this evening is to give you all a brief update on the 2011-2012 results since Billy Casper Golf assumed operations in September 2011, and then to follow up with the 2012-13 fiscal year plan starting July 1 and 2012-13 strategies. We're pleased to report that things have been going very well at Black Mountain Golf Course thus far. And this slide here will demonstrate the financial performance of the club. A couple of items here, as it says at the very top there. These are on the left column. These are projected numbers through June 1st. This is using our forecast model for the club as far as revenues and expenses. And it also is assuming in July and August 2011 budget numbers since Billy Casper Golf assumed operations on September 1, 2011. On the right is the 2011-12 budgeted numbers. And again, on the left, the projections. So I won't go through all of these in detail, but bird's eye view of it, the club is exceeding its total rounds in relation to budget. We're assuming that we're going to end up at about 25,500 rounds for the fiscal year 2011-12 versus a budget of 25,200. The club is exceeding revenues in most categories for a total revenue projection of $643,849 versus a budget of $628,296. I will point out in the middle of the screen the golf cart lease. You may ask why I have a $0 number in there, and it'll make more sense on the next slide. But the carts at the golf course are owned, and currently there is no lease on these golf carts, but we are recommending a lease be engaged on the next fiscal year budget. Total expenses down near the bottom are projected at $602,000 $613 versus a budget of $617,659, for a total net operating income projection of $1,098 versus the budgeted amount of $29,915 deficit. The last item there is an irrigation lease for the master control system for the irrigation at the golf course, and this is an item that will continue to hit the books through May of 2013, and that is projected at $27,600 right on budget. So the net income of the golf course is projected at negative $26,502 for the fiscal year 2011-12 versus a budget of negative $57,515. So things are going according to plan and slightly better than planned. Okay, for 2012-13 budget, again, the items on the far right there are projected numbers for 2011-12, same as what we saw on the last slide. And again, those do assume July and August budget numbers since we weren't at the club until September 1st. The numbers on the left are our proposed 2012-13 budget, and I'll hit the highlights of that quickly here. We are expecting an increase in overall rounds at the course to 26,000. And with the advent of some new membership programs at the club, which I'll expand on further in this presentation, as well as the full operation of the new restaurant at the facility, we're expecting total revenues to be $765,443. And as you go down the expense line in the middle there, I mentioned on the last slide, golf cart lease was at 0 this year. We are recommending an $18,000 budget amount for golf cart lease. The carts that are at the facility right now are between 7 and 8 years old currently, and they're nearing the end of their life cycle. This budget assumes that we will utilize the current golf carts through 2012 and then procure new golf carts in beginning of 2013, so halfway through the fiscal year cycle. Total expenses are budgeted at $671,681. Of course, with the advent of the restaurant, there will be some increased expenses on the food and beverage side. So in conjunction with the increase on the revenue side, you're going to see an increase in total expenses, as well as an increase in the overall maintenance budget, which Mike will talk about in just a moment. The net operating income that we're projecting for 2012-2013 is $29,800, which you'll see covers the irrigation lease amount of $27,225. Again, that irrigation lease is set to expire in May of 2013, so that will come off the books after next fiscal year, but it is an expense that we need to plan for this year. And the overall budget is projecting a net income of $2,575 versus, again, the projection this year of negative $26,502. So net increase to the bottom line of roughly $28,000. Strategies for 2012, how are we going to get to these numbers? I'll talk a minute about safety and how it relates to our operation. Mike will then talk about our agronomic plan for the golf course, and then hand it back over to me for a brief discussion on marketing and the restaurant, as well as our ACE training program at the club. Safety, this is something we feel very strongly about. Safety is always our top priority, and it's something that we've ingrained in the staff at Black Mountain Golf Club. This is always should be the top priority at the club. Every single employee that we have at the site will go through a comprehensive training program and view a video called Safety Makes Sense. This will be supported in execution by the completion of facility audits throughout the year to ensure that we're providing a safe environment for our guests and employees. Now I'll hand it over to Mike to talk a little bit about the agronomic plan for Black Mountain Golf Course in 2012.
Thanks, Nick. Again, my name is Mike Stevens. I'm the Regional Director of Agronomy for the Southeast United States for Billy Casper Golf. Last year, as we exited the 2011 season, we were left with some issues, and I like to call low-hanging fruit, issues that are easy to deal with, easy to address, that's going to provide a quick, noticeable change to the golf course and for you guys to enjoy. I want to bring you up to speed kind of with what our goals are for 2012 as we head into this season. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's our goal to provide the most aesthetically pleasing and playable golf course that we can with the funds provided, and ultimately using those funds as responsibly and efficiently as possible. Last year, we had a visual weed infestation that was left over from a couple of years of deferred maintenance and inconsistent support. That's number one on our goal this year. We want to tackle those weeds to make sure that we're not hindered in our ability to go out the course and maintain it in ways we want to provide the definition and purity of grass that is needed out there. So our goal beyond our weed control heading into this spring is to, with the new equipment that the town provided, appreciate it, change our mowing frequencies, our strategies into creating a more defined, different playing surfaces between your fairways, your rough, and ultimately a better visual golf course for you guys to come into. Right now, when you go to the golf course, you'll see what we call kind of a Heinz 57 of turf. You've got a handful of 5 or 6 different species of grasses out there. Our goals this year is to implement our interseeding program that we put in place. John and the team there work closely with our support into identifying the types of turf we want to use into our rough and in our fairways to provide a more consistent visual type of grass out there that's going to look better throughout the year, not just in your growing seasons. Again, in all these changes, the ultimate goal here is to provide that definition between your playing surfaces and increase the focus. Long story short, the shorter the grass, the more attention it's going to get throughout the year. The longer the grass, less needs are out there. So all this kind of ties into our last goal for the year. If you move on to the next one, thank you. It's an issue that's very dear to us as a company and to me personally, and that's getting your golf course Audubon certified. Right now throughout our country, every golf course that we work with that's been part of our portfolio for more than a year is enrolled in the Audubon Cooperative Sanctuary Program. And beyond that, 60% of the courses we work with are actually certified. And again, it's a lengthy process. It's something that educates the staff and the community around it in the sustainability of the golf course and the environmental friendly impact that it has. So in doing so, it's going to help educate our staff, you as well, and become a more organic part of your community. So by the end of 2012 season, you'll see that placard displayed on and amongst the property, and hopefully you can look at it with pride, and I know we do.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, a couple slides ago I mentioned that we have a fairly significant revenue goal for 2012-13, so I want to talk a little bit about our marketing strategy for 2012. As many of you know, there was a promotional membership that was sold 2 years ago that is expiring in May of 2012. This had, I believe, 600 members within the promotional membership, so we have a good group of people to market to for our new programs that we're introducing at the club. Membership opportunities, we do have a membership, full membership, senior membership, junior membership, resident, non-resident. Those are staying. We'll continue to have those this year, and they're going to be very, very close in cost or price to the consumer as they were before. So we're happy to offer pretty well the same membership program as we had before. In addition to those membership opportunities for those who are not interested in the full membership at the club, we will have 2 different levels of card programs that you can opt into. The first one being the Birdie Pass, which is the $19 golf card, which somebody can opt into, and they can save a certain amount off their greens fee every time they play at Black Mountain if they're playing 18 holes and if they're riding in a cart. So both of these programs are 18-hole programs and riding in a cart. Birdie Pass is a low barrier of entry, and we figure we're going to sell a great number of them this year. Eagle Pass is $119 annually, and you save a little bit more off your greens fee if you opt into this. So this program appeals to the player who's going to be playing potentially once a week or greater. To support these efforts, our marketing team and Steve and our Marcom team are going to work hard to have the best possible collateral and the best possible website and marketing program that we can possibly have. We do have a new dedicated website for the golf course as of last fall. It's listed up there. Encourage everybody to go to blackmountaingolf.org and check that out. Program collateral, a couple examples of some programs that we offered last year. And last but not least, our guest track system, which is something that's under development right now. What we do and what we're very diligent about doing is trying to collect as much information from our guests as possible. So the first time you play our golf course, we're going to collect your zip code, and we're going to try to collect your email address if at all possible. Use that information to track consumer behavior and then market to everybody appropriately based on their playing habits. So this is something that takes time. It's going to take several months to years to fully build it up to its potential. But thanks to Brent's efforts and his team there at the golf course, we're off to a good start. And one that I know everybody's going to be excited about, the restaurant. This is opening soon, and I can tell you that I can change that soon to a firm date. We will be opening this Friday, and we'll be open this weekend at the golf course. So we're very excited to get that started and in time to kick off the meat of the golf season. Also excited to procure our beer and wine sales license. We should be getting that in the next week, but it'll be in conjunction with us opening the restaurant full time. This is a new thing for the golf course, and will add a new revenue stream to the overall revenues. With that, you'll have opportunities to sell banquets and outings. And again, going back to our marketing effort, we're going to make a strong push to try to utilize that space as much as we possibly can. It's a beautiful space, as you can see here at the bottom. A banquet room that seats around 50 people, which extends into the restaurant there, which seats another 50. The entire structure can hold about 100, and in addition to the porch that is an outdoor area as well. It's a great space. We look forward to utilizing it as much as we possibly can. Also pleased to announce that we did hire a food and beverage supervisor last week. Her name is Michelle Gerbel, and encourage you all to go out and see Michelle, and she's very excited to lead the effort there in the restaurant under the direction of Brent Miller. And last but not least, I think I'm going over my time here, but this really sums it up here in what we're trying to build towards. At the middle of the screen, you'll see our service theme, which is we want to try to treat each guest to a fun and enjoyable golf experience. It's as simple as that. We're trying to do everything we possibly can from a hiring standpoint, from a training standpoint, and support standpoint from Billy Casper Golf to provide a great golf experience from beginning to end. And that starts with the golf course itself, trying to improve the golf course on a continual basis, and we feel confident that that's going to happen. And it also comes down to how we're treating people once they end up on our golf course. In order to grow revenues at a golf course, and we've done this at 130 other properties nationwide, it's not a secret to us. It comes down to best value. We want to be the best value in the market, and that's a three-legged chair. That's product, that's service, and it's price. The first two of which take some time to develop, and obviously price-wise, we feel like we're very competitive in the market. So that concludes our presentation. If there are any questions this evening, we'd like to give you the opportunity to ask those.
Board have some comments, questions?
Yes, I played yesterday, and this is an observation. Looking at the course, I can't see any difference yet. Although today I did see the blue-green powder or fertilizer, whatever you call it, you put on the green. So they are looking, you colored them green today. But as far as the condition of the course, I don't know what I was thinking I would see, although I can see part of it out my window. It still isn't there. Well, I know this time of year it couldn't be. But hopefully that transformation is lying in wait.
Sure, I can address that just shortly. You mentioned it. It's the time of year. When we set up property, it was September, so we were kind of left with what we're left to deal with. We spent the winter more planning from an agronomic standpoint, making sure that when the spring season is upon us, we hit the ground running. We don't waste any time implementing those changes. The powder you saw today is a fertilizer application. It's the first one of the season. Obviously, it's been dormant, sleeping for most of the winter. Now it's time to start waking up, and you're going to start seeing some changes. We did make a few minor changes to our mowing patterns over the last few weeks. Again, with the addition of the new equipment, we've had that ability to do that now. With the grass starting to grow a little bit more aggressively now, we're slightly lowering the grass in the fairways, raising the height of cut in the rough slightly, not much, just enough to add that visual difference again. So when you're seeing the tee, you can tell where the fairway is.
Be careful you don't make it too rough.
No, man, I'm a golfer too, and I need to go get to that ball too. So It's those small changes that you're going to see initially, but once we hit the growing season, that's when the major differences are really going to show up.
Okay. Another observation, this happened right in front of me. 2 groups ahead of me, there was a fivesome of young guys playing. They had 3 carts. They finished on 18, wheeled around on 10, started playing the back again. Now, which leads me to my point of where the pro shop is. There's no way they can see what's going on with the cart activity. That concerns me. Where the pro shop is located, the logistics make no sense to me. Now, I know monetarily that's why it was moved, but I continue to see this occurring. The logistics of it just don't flow. And another thing, when you walk in that pro shop, it's probably one of the most uninviting pro shops I've ever walked into. And you walk in and the bathroom doors open, that's the first thing you see, it's the bathroom. So, observation. Okay?
The others?
Yes, I've got a question. As far as the restaurant that's going to be up above, is that going to be part of your profit? I know that you're getting a percentage of the profit. Is that involved in your profit equation?
Well, Billy Casper Golf is not incentivized beyond its management fees until the general fund is paid back from the golf course. So as far as that goes, we're many years off based on the profit that we're projecting for this year. So to answer your question, it really no in the overall equation. Down the road, if the general fund does get paid back and Billy Casper Golf meets certain thresholds that are outlined in the contract, then yes, the overall total facility performance, including restaurant, maintenance, and golf, is all included in that equation.
They're projecting $477 a month into their operating income from the restaurant. Correct? That's a ballpark. After expenses. When I broke it down, it looked to me like you were doing about $5,700 in total revenue.
In net profit?
Yeah, what would be profit? That's the way you're doing your operating statement.
The food and beverage operation, from a revenue standpoint, is budgeted for 2012 to 13 for $115,000 in revenue. Will also have about 32% in cost of goods sold, which is the hard cost of the food and beverage that is being sold. And the rest, including labor and operating expenses, will leave an operating margin of roughly 30%. So the food and beverage operation is budgeted to to profit $35,000.
Well, this statement here that I received, or maybe it's different, was a total of $57,000 net, $19,950 for cost of goods, and then $31,300 on labor, which brings you to about $5,000.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share the breakdown on the overall budget, but it's 31% margin on food and beverage is what we're budgeted for.
The other, in the statement we received, I couldn't find where your cost is in there.
Mm-hmm. It's actually located under general and administrative expenses.
Then that is, okay.
It's part of that overall number, and it includes.
So there you've only got $3,000 general administrative expense, and we're paying you $6,000 a month plus $500 expenses, right?
Yeah, I mean that number is, and I'm not looking at the same sheet as what you're looking at, but it's actually higher than that. You're right, $6,500 is included in the overall G&A expenses. So that number 3,000 can't be correct in whatever sheet that is.
The other, you're projecting on this one 29.8 after with revenues over expenses.
Mm-hmm.
When I went back to the audited statements on just operating revenue and operating expenses. In '99, it was $90,009. 2000, it was $58,399. In '01, it was $41,801. Then 2002, $65,000. '03, we did a capital outlay, which was $43,000, but it had a $8,000 profit. Then in '04, 64,000. In '05, 97,000. In '06, 75,000. In '07, 66,345. '08, 64,835. '09, 40,500. 10, 58,210. And 11, 58,200. And you're projecting 29,800. What happened?
The numbers that you're.
They're exactly GAAP numbers, non-GAAP numbers, just like you're doing here.
Okay.
And they're audited.
Okay. We haven't seen those numbers, so we have very little historical information other than what we have been able to obtain through Dean. So I can't speak to the past. We can speak to what we're seeing right now. And based on the information we have, the overall outlay of the golf course was a net loss, and this includes all in, of about $50,000 to $60,000 in years past. This year we're projecting $29,000 loss, and next year we're projecting no loss. We're actually projecting a profit overall, which includes the irrigation lease as well. So the overall cash outlay is what we're most concerned about, and ensuring that the taxpayers of Black Mountain don't have to continue to fund the operation of the golf course. So what we see in 2012-13 is getting back to solvency so that next winter we don't have to stand in front of you and ask for more money to fund the operation.
Well, these numbers don't tell me that the town was funding the golf course. You may say it, but these numbers are derived the same way you did these numbers. And they're audited. Remember the auditors that we brought in. So I don't think you should say that the taxpayer of Black Mountain is supporting the golf course.
Okay.
I think it's generated enough revenues to cover its expenses. The other thing, I believe you told us in the beginning that you would have a capital outlay in the budget. I don't see that in this budget.
Yeah, there is no capital expenditures budgeted in this current budget, only the irrigation lease, which is paid off through May 2013.
The other thing is, we purchased some fans that were supposed to be installed. This time we only have one. What's the holdup on that? I've had some questions about it. Can you tell me?
Other than we just haven't put them in yet. Establishing where exactly we want to put them, we've looked at doing some tree work to incorporate some airflow around some of the greens out there, 16 in particular, I'm sure you're referring to. Certainly part of the plan. At this time, they just aren't in yet. We aren't through the time of the season where it's a huge concern. Obviously, as we get to the meat of the summer, it'll be more of an issue, but it will be dealt with between now and then.
Well, you're showing a 20% increase. This is the marketing plan that you propose to do that off of, that 20% increase?
Mm-hmm. Well, the marketing plan is a very comprehensive effort, and it's beyond the scope of what we can talk about here tonight. In short, we're going to go after every revenue stream we possibly can. 26,000 rounds of golf is a very obtainable number. We would like to do 30,000, and if we did so, the rest of the revenues would certainly fall in line. But yeah, I mean, having the new membership program, getting out of the old promotional membership program, which didn't really allow for greens fee generation like we would like to see, is a big opportunity for us. So the membership opportunities that we covered there are a big part of what we're going to do in 2012.
You didn't give us this. What are your rounds year to date? Your revenues are up, I noticed, but what are they year to date?
I don't know the exact number there. I mean, we've come through the winter, and with it being a very mild winter, we've had some really good days there. I know, Brent, do you recall what we did in February and January?
February, I believe we finished with I think around $21,000. So far, this month we're projected to be 20.8% ahead of the budget. So
right.
We're doing well again this month.
Rounds wise?
Oh, total rounds? Okay. I don't know exactly what rounds. I have to pull off the MR. But I mean, I think last month we did about 1,200 rounds, and we were budgeted for 390 something like that.
Well, the weather's been good enough to have a lot more rounds. Any other questions?
The blue marks on the fairways, what are they? Are they the blue lines?
Mm-hmm.
Was I seeing things yesterday? I think I saw some blue lines, blue markings.
No, we're in the process right now. That's part of the agronomics plan. We're putting out a spring pre-emerge, winter pre-emerge. It's going to help protect us against those weed populations I talked about earlier. We should do some markings in the course to let us know where we have been, haven't been. You may also see some red striping around the outlines of the fairway. That's to dictate exactly where we want those fairways to begin and end. We haven't actually had those in the years past, so it's a training issue to get the guys to know exactly where to go until they get used to it.
I understand you guys picked up Glen Cannon?
Yes, sir.
Good track.
Couple of comments from me.
Okay. Go ahead.
Going back to what Alderman Tuttle was saying about the grounds and the folks who were, I guess, were in essence cheating. Is there not a ranger? I mean, again, I'm still trying to learn the golf course analogy here. So is there not a ranger that's on the course to make sure those kind of things don't happen?
Right. Well, as Maggie pointed out, the pro shop is not facing towards the 10th hole. So with the restaurant opening, there are windows facing precisely toward the 10th hole. It's actually very conveniently located. It's coming from the 9th hole right to the 10th, which should generate some extra revenue opportunities as well. But having that open, we'll have a little bit more of an eye just from whoever's in the restaurant of who's coming and going in that regard. As we get into the season and the budgets increase from an expense standpoint, yes, we will have more employees. And at this point, it's at some point you have to ask people to be honest. When they come in and if they don't pay for what they're doing, it's criminal activity, and we try to police that as best as we can. Given the budget constraints, we can't always catch that. If somebody wanted to go back and play another hole or two, we can't say it doesn't happen, but we can do everything we can to mitigate that. As we get into the season, we'll have more staff to help control that.
So in other words, there's not a person whose sole responsibility at the golf course is to patrol or to, I don't know.
I think the point I was making is that where the pro shop is, that's the biggest gripe I hear from most people, is the location of the pro shop. And that's really what I'm trying to get to. Makes no sense. And I think it puts the guys who work out of there at a real disadvantage. They can see nothing but just the dumpster out in front. Whereas if they're back up in what is the old pro shop now, there is more visibility.
Sure.
And they're closer to the carts. Just a point of view, that part I can't see.
It's like anything. There's pros and cons to it. You can see as people are coming in. I'm sure Brent appreciates this. You can see people coming directly in, so you know when you have to be ready to accept a new customer. Having the operation in one building is nice. There's a little bit more synergy there. Brent can be closer to the action of the food and beverage operation once it opens as well. So, with all things considered, the pro shop where it is okay.
Now, with the grounds, how long did you guys go between the old equipment, that lease being up, and the delivery of the new equipment? What was the span of that time there?
John, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe we went somewhere around the lines of close to 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Between the end of the lease and the delivery of the new equipment.
December 1 to about January 20th.
Yeah, and a lot of that obviously is going through the process of the bid, having it priced out 3 different ways and brought back to the board and then gone back over again for a finalization, an approval, and then a delivery process as well.
Okay. I like to do some spot checks up there. I've been up a couple of times when Brent's been there, and been up there a couple of times when I just went out on the course and didn't let him know I was there, and had the opportunity to talk to some of the golfers. And even yesterday when I was there, Ms. Toll and her crew came over to play. But like anything that's new, or any new endeavor, you're going to have your ups and your downs. You're trying to make a baby walk here, and you know, there's people you're going to fall down along the way. What I would ask the citizens to do, what I would ask this board to do, is to realize that we're in the first year of a 5-year plan here, and to be realistic and open-minded that we're not going to build a new, what is it, Quail Hollow here, or that's a golf course, I think. But I am very impressed. I had a good talk with Brent yesterday, and I'm very impressed with where he feels the golf course is and the direction we're going in. I have a lot of, I guess, envy of the professionalism and class that you guys are showing. Even to stand up here when you come to make your presentations, and you know, I don't want to say criticism, but just the questions that you get. And I think it's that you guys answer those questions as best you can in a very classy and professional manner. So I appreciate what you're doing. Brent, John, keep up the good work, guys.
Appreciate the support.
Unfortunately, this golf course has been walking for about 80 years. So, you know, the baby walk, I think we've long since gone past. And unfortunately, this board kind of had to accept a prearranged marriage that we have no control over, except for, I think, 18 months. If I'm not correct, looking at the contract, that in 18 months is the first chance we have to talk about getting a divorce. Is that not correct?
I'm not sure about the specifics, but if we can't make believers out of you in 18 months, then you know, we're not doing our jobs.
Okay. So you would be open to talking about an amicable separation then?
Look, we are here to serve the town of Black Mountain, and we want nothing more than to see this facility prosper and to ultimately be an asset that generates profits for the town of Black Mountain.
That's good to hear then.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks.
Health Initiative, tobacco-free presentation.
I'm Roger Hibbard, 106 Lynch Cove Road, and current chair of the Black Mountain Health Initiative. And as a part of this evening's presentation, Mayor Bartlett asked me to give a brief summary on where the health initiative has been. We were commissioned in 2004 by Mayor Michael Bagley and the Board of Aldermen as the Black Mountain Health and Wellness Task Force. We've since then evolved into the health initiative. And for most of our 8 years, we struggled with how to get a handle on health and wellness in our community. In autumn of last year, we embarked upon a strategic planning process where we verbalized a vision statement. And Darlene, I'm going to ask you to pop that up. Our vision is that the citizens of Black Mountain will know and exhibit healthy lifestyle habits. We feel that our role is a catalyst in public education and advocacy in 3 major areas. And next slide, Darlene, nutrition, physical activity, and tobacco cessation. In the area of nutrition, we're very pleased to report that we have instituted community gardens at Black Mountain Primary School, Black Mountain Elementary School. We have a wonderful community garden at Recreation Park, and Carolyn Freiberger and her cadre of volunteers have become the go-to people in our region for nonprofit organizations and communities who want to begin community gardens. The second area, in collaboration with Manna Food Bank, we've instituted a backpack program where children who are on free or reduced breakfast and lunch programs receive backpacks filled with nutritional snacks that will bridge weekends and the summer months. Also, in conjunction with Manna Food Bank, on the final Thursday of each month, we have a food distribution program where produce and vegetables from the community garden, along with staples from Manna, are supplying 80 to 100 family members each month. In the area of physical activity and exercise, under the capable leadership of Dave Wilkes, We've tried to promote public education for getting people out and moving, and had advocated for safe routes to do this, such as our greenways. We're currently in the process of updating a nice walking handbook under Carolyn Freiberger's leadership. And we, in that book, explain how to get involved in a program of movement, exercise, and activity, and then how to transition to a higher level of activity. And the final area is tobacco cessation. We've sponsored smoking cessation classes, other things. We've tried to promote, again, through public education and being a catalyst in the public education and advocacy area. The reason we're with you here tonight. The first chair of our task force was Dr. Olson Huff. And Dr. Huff's going to accept the reins now and talk to you a little bit about tobacco cessation. And there's certainly no one in our community better equipped to do that. A distinguished career in pediatrics and family medicine, headed the Pediatric Center for Mission Hospital System, and is looked upon not only in our region and in our state, but throughout the nation as an authority in health and wellness. So with that introduction, Olson, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Roger, and I hope I can live up to that introduction. I'm Mr. Mayor and members of our town's Board of Aldermen. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, also to talk to you a little bit about what is the driving passion in my life, and that is to make sure that we all stay as healthy as possible. You already know that smoking is not permitted in public buildings, and there is in North Carolina ordinances now that prohibit smoking in many of our restaurants and gathering places such as that. My wife has repeatedly pointed out to me that if Irish pubs could go smoke-free, surely we in America could do just about as well. I also want to mention very importantly the work of the Black Mountain Health Initiative and the many members, some of you who are here tonight, who have made this possible. An example of the efficiency and the importance of this health initiative for the town of Black Mountain has been that the Health and Wellness Trust Fund Commission of North Carolina designated Black Mountain as a fit community. Not only was that a designation, but it brought thousands upon thousands of dollars into this community to promote some of the things that Roger has mentioned to you already. Now, the question then would be, and may I have the next slide, please? Why pass a policy that is, in effect, already in place in many of our public buildings? What's the necessity of going any further? Why should we worry about gathering places outside? After all, you know, the wind will blow away the smoke, right? Let me give you a little bit of background on this. Thursday of last week, I had an email from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the headline was this: teen smoking at epidemic levels. Now, if I were to tell you that I had heard on the radio this morning that there was an epidemic of smallpox or polio or diphtheria in our community, the schools would be closed, panic would be in the streets, and no child would be left outside of a house. And yet, do you know that at the height of the polio epidemic in 1952, there were only 6,000 deaths that year from polio? I say only, that's tragic, but only. Do you know that there were 447,000 deaths in America last year because of smoking? 25 million of our people will not live 14 years longer than they're expected because they smoke. And 5 million of those are children now under 18 years of age who will never be able to live a full life expectancy because they're caught up in that epidemic. So this is the reason we're here tonight, to suggest to you, to recommend to you that you extend the smoking-free areas to those places where people gather in public, where children, where adults, where families go for recreation, where they go for entertainment, and they go for relaxation. The tax-supported parts of our community, where people can expect to find a healthy lifestyle. Next slide. So here are some then of the specific reasons for passing this. Here you see the number of people in North Carolina who are affected. You also see the tremendous effects of a very brief exposure to smoke. And we know that secondhand smoke is just as harmful outside as it is inside. If you can smell it, it means that it's getting into your lungs. And if it's getting into your lungs, it's creating havoc. Next one. Tobacco-free policies are a significant model for preventing this problem in our youth. And if we have an epidemic already on our hands, we need to do everything we can to turn that epidemic around. We are basically setting a model for our young people as we ourselves strive to achieve better health. Next. The costs of tobacco are pretty darn high. And this is basically a figure of what it just costs the Medicaid program in Buncombe County alone on an annual basis to care for those who are afflicted with or addicted to smoking and whose health is compromised by it. Next. We also, in fact, this morning, as I went down to Lake Tomahawk with my dog to do our regular morning run, the first thing that I happened to notice as I got out of the car and got to the edge of the pavement was the number of cigarette butts that were laying in the grass. And I just think that is kind of sad that we have such litter. But I would like to point out to you that those particular butts contain toxic substances. And those toxic substances are going into our ground, and eventually they're going to find their way into our water supply. Well, you may say, well, what the heck? You multiply those butts by the many thousands of them that are there, and one of these days you're going to be drinking something you don't want. Next one. The outdoor prevention of smoking and tobacco products is a national trend. Durham, the city of Durham, has just recently passed the most comprehensive one in the state, I believe. They even preventing smoking on sidewalks in front of public buildings, etc. So we're not setting any precedent tonight. We're not asking you to go out on a limb and do something that has not been done before. Many of the places in Buncombe County already are smoke-free. I myself have been present in the evolution of smoke-free substances in 3 of our major facilities in the county: Mission Hospital, Care Partners or Tom's Hospital, and the Mountain Area Health Education Center. All of those programs rolled out smoke-free while I was either associated with them or still am. Next. So we're basically wanting you to consider, for the health of the community, for the beautification of the community, and for specifically the role model that we play to our children, we would like for you to consider an ordinance that would ban smoking in the public gathering places outdoors in the town of Black Mountain. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be attempting to answer them in any way possible.
Any questions, Dr. Hunt? The only thing I see wrong with the policy, it should be more restrictive, Doctor. I would agree with Durham.
Well, I won't disagree with that.
When I quit smoking, the only way I could have smoked more would have been to have slept less.
Well, thank you all very much for allowing us to be here.
Thank you. Excellent. Is there how do you want to handle this, board? You want to schedule it for a public hearing now? This has to be in the form of an ordinance, right?
Yeah, if you're, excuse me, if you're gonna do it in ordinance form, which I would certainly recommend, then we need to call for a public hearing. And that should go to the planning board first.
Let them, okay.
Yeah, let them review it and come back with a recommendation. I would suggest that. First stop, planning board, then back to us, call for a public hearing, move forward.
Consensus, go to the planning board? No objection? Okay. And when the planning board does, I'd like for them to look at Durham's.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney?
I have nothing more, Mr. Mayor.
Al?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be as brief as I can. I do have some items to talk a little bit about. Just more for information at this point than anything. Some things we're working on. Number one, I guess, or the town staff said a while back that we would be looking at the town debt, and we would be looking at anything that we felt like that we could reduce the interest rate and save us some money. So, Finance Director Dean Luby and I, the first one that we're looking at, I'll just kind of tell you, we're not ready to finalize anything on this, but to kind of tell you where we are on it right now, and that's the town square debt. That is at 4.92% right now. That's with BB&T. We have a commitment from them at this point to take that down to 3.51. We are still waiting to hear back, I believe, from SunTrust, and we've talked to basically all banks in the area. So we're leaving no stones unturned. We've got 18 years to go on that debt. And we'll also look, Dean and I talked about this a little bit today, we'll look also at possibility of doing 15 years. Some of the banks won't go to 18, so we're looking at all possibilities. But bottom line, where we are right now, we are looking at, over the 18 years left to go, we're looking at a net savings of $231,000 on what we owe right now. So that we know we're going to be able to save a significant amount of money, and we'll bring back to you, hopefully in the near future, a finished product of our findings on that.
And there's a good chance then that by going to the 15-year, we then have more banks that will be bidding on it.
More players, yes, sir.
But those players will be probably giving us a lower interest rate too, correct?
I would think so. I would think the shorter the term you go, the better your rate's going to get. Yes, sir.
Good.
I want to let you know that we have a donation of dogwood trees from the Lions Club. I believe they donated 16 trees to the town. We have funneled that through the Urban Forest Commission, and Jamie Matthews has been working with them. Pam Hoeing has kind of been heading this up, but we just want to publicly thank our Lions Club for the donation tonight. A little bit of info, working with GDS, our sanitation contractor. That contract is not up until June 30th of 2013, but I did feel like that there was a possibility of some savings to be had here. So I've been talking with them. They have already, now in their contract, they have CPI, cost of living, consumer price index, tied to consumer price index, which is at 3.2% right now. That's in their contract. So if we do nothing, we'll have a $17,625 increase this year. They have already told me that they will forego that if we'll extend that contract for another year to July 1 or through June 30th of 2014. Now, I'm still working on possibility of some other savings, so I'm not ready to bring that to you tonight for vote. But I wanted to let you know what we got going on there. And I will give you, I think I've got it here somewhere. Started out with it, a breakdown of the contract.
Did you find out if there's a fuel clause increasing?
There is not. There was, and that question come up. Thank you, Mayor. There is not at this time. There has been one in there in the past, but I couldn't find anything on that. Let me give you the breakdown of what we're paying right now by service. Garbage, $299, $954. Recycling, $97, $229. Yard waste, $140, $983. White goods, $12,639, for a total cost of $550,807.44 in this year's contract. So we'll continue to work with them, trying to possibly come forth with some more savings. Hope we can, but I'll be back to you on that one. The last one that I have, and I apologize to you for this one, because it is not on the agenda, because I only got the info today on this one, and this come to me from Steve Paget, our interim police chief, and this is a possibility for a grant. And the reason I bring it to you tonight, if we're to do anything, this is due March 22nd. So we're in a really tight time frame. Now, the way this thing works, it is for one police officer. It is a 3-year deal. It's a matching 75% with us paying 25%. At the end of the 3-year period, we will pay the full salary, as you would expect. But 3 years, 75-25. Year 4, the salary 100% funded by us. So I wanted to get a feel from you tonight. Do you want us to pursue the grant? Because we will be committing 25% of salary of one police officer this coming year. And then, of course, in year 4, 100%. So I want to bring that to you tonight for your thoughts.
Probably need to look at that during our budget workshops. I noticed you've got on here until March 22nd to submit your application updates.
Yeah, now, it's gonna take, and I talked with the chief today, it's gonna take a little while for him. Today is the 12th. This is due in 10 days, and it's gonna take a few days to prepare this thing. So we're on a pretty tight time frame.
Well, personally, I think we're more in need of firemen than we are police. Any comments, board?
Yeah, because then after 3 years, we're fully funding this.
You are.
Which is
Yes, sir.
going to be bumping up ours from 18 to 19.
Yes, sir. We have a vacancy right now, but that won't apply. It's got to be a newly created position. So we can't use that.
We can't get creative and eliminate it?
Huh?
We can't get creative and eliminate it?
Well, now you guys might take that one out tonight, and we might reconvene. No, I'm kidding. But
I'm not in favor of it myself, for just the budget constraints that it puts on us.
Any other comments? We've heard you. Next one, I guess.
Direction?
I'd say, seems to be consensus of the board not pursuing
Not
it
to
this
apply?
time.
Okay, good enough. Okay, I have, if I could keep up with my paperwork, I'm going to call on interim police chief Steve Paget. He's going to talk to us a little bit about Operation Medicine Drive. Chief?
Thank you. Good evening. We just want to encourage everyone to participate in Operation Medicine Drop. This will be our 3rd year. The last 2 years has been very successful, so we hope that this year will be too. And for those of you who may not know, what is Operation Medicine Drop? It's a statewide initiative to provide people with safe ways to dispose of old or unused medications. There's several other agencies that we partnership with. It's Safe Kids North Carolina, NC Department of Insurance, U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, and North Carolina State Bureau of Investigations. These are the agencies that are backing this, and it's a really good operation. Some of the issues is Operation Medicine Drop is important because when excess medications are kept around the home, they create dangerous opportunities for prescription drug abuse and accidental poisonings. Poisonings from prescription drugs and medications have increased in recent years here in North Carolina. While most people are familiar with poison hazards presented by cleaning supplies, it's important to know that since 1999, more than 75% of all unintentional poisonings were caused by prescription or over-the-counter medications. Most people, when they dispose of these medications, they either flush them down the toilet or throw them in the trash. And this presents issues within themselves also. This can contaminate water sources, and these contaminations has been found in waterways here in North Carolina. Our rivers and streams are particularly vulnerable to these effects of drug contamination. Some of these drugs have been found in our water and are linked to development of diabetes, breast cancer, and kidney problems. Some really, really important facts, and I'll share those with you. They were very interesting. The average North Carolinian fills 14 prescriptions annually, which adds up to over 127 million prescriptions filled statewide each year. Studies show that as much as 40% of these drugs dispensed are never used. Since 1999, approximately 4,500 in North Carolina have died from prescription poisoning. Also, approximately 40% of injuries from unintentional poisons occurred in children under 5 years old. 1 in 5 teens has abused prescription drugs. In 2004, a study identified 100 different pharmaceuticals in surface water. Unused or expired prescription medications are a public safety issue, leading to accidental poisonings, overdose, and abuse. Of those 12 years and older who abused pain relievers in the past year, the majority, which is over 50%, got them from friends and family for free, including from their home medicine cabinets. Only 4.4% got them from a drug dealer or a stranger. Visits to the hospital emergency rooms involving the misuse of abuse or pharmaceutical drugs have doubled over the past 5 years. So this is why this is really important. Let Operation Medicine Drop and the Black Mountain Police Department protect your family by partnershiping with these other agencies. We will be taking your unused and expired medications on March the 19th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Health Ridge Pharmacy located on US 70. And I've got some flyers that I'll put out here in the lobby in case you'd like to pick those up when you exit. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
A couple of comments on that. I would certainly hope that not only that we help support this program from March the 19th, but that hopefully that it would develop into something that would be year-round. With my stay on the MSD board, one of the things that is surfacing, as he mentioned about the waterways, is that just from the chemical nature of these drugs, their formulas, and the way that they break down into such minute quantities in our water, in our wastewater, it's you cannot filter these out. So even though people that are ingesting them for the diseases or for whatever infections they have, we have no control over that. But the excess, if we could go ahead and set up a program beyond just this 1 month, would just be fantastic to be able to pull this out of the wastewater system, because the wastewater system eventually ends up in the French Broad River. So this is something that I'm just hoping that in the years ahead or months ahead that we could try to figure out some way, either of some drop boxes. I'm just thinking out loud now, as a way that we could end up doing this so that we provide similar things just like the fire department does on fluorescent light bulbs. You have a bad fluorescent light bulb, you take it to the fire department. They take it in for you. It's a great service.
Jamie. Jamie, you're up. We're going to ask Public Service Director Jamie Matthews to talk about our storm drain issue, which has been completed between our parking lot between Cherry Street and Broadway.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Just wanted to give a brief update on a failing storm system that we replaced behind Town Hardware. The good news is it's completed and it's fixed, and it turned out really good. But what I really wanted to do, I wanted to thank all of the downtown business owners for being patient with us. And it took a little bit longer than we expected. You can always make a material list from the beginning, but you don't really know what you're going to run into until you get into the job. So we had to order some specialty stuff. Took a little longer. Just glad we got it done when we did. Considering the ACC tournaments and everybody offering lunch specials, I probably wouldn't be here tonight. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and it was a pleasure working with you, and glad we got it done and everything turned out good, so it ought to last many years down the road. So I just want to say thank you to everybody involved.
Thank you.
Jamie, I've got a question. When this first started and y'all were talking about this, there were two options: contracting it out,
correct,
which the town has done a lot of, or doing it with the Public Service Department.
Correct.
Do you remember roughly how much the contract was?
It's funny that you asked. After the job, I waited till all the receipts was turned in, and I met with Meredith in finance probably 2 weeks ago, and I got a copy of all the receipts for my records personally that I keep on file. And like I say, we had to add some specialty stuff like risers and certain bands and certain types of grout and sand mix. But I also figured man hours, and I like to figure them high. That leaves us some wiggle room. But the quote was for $12,300, and when we finished the job, it come out we spent $6,700. But the private part of the property, the business owners, they paid for the materials. The only thing we supplied was labor. So the time you subtracted that, we saved over $6,000.
Well, I'd like to thank Al on that, because that is a decision that he made to not contract it out and to use our own town people. And I'm proud you made that decision,
Well,
Al.
now we got to thank Jamie too, because we jointly made that decision. And we sit down and talked about it, the two of us. So it was a joint venture.
Well, and more of it needs to be done, and the town is appreciative.
I want to just elaborate a little bit on this so that the public knows that this was the line that came out from behind the Town Hardware, went through that driveway and underneath the parking lot. Well, that's all they were going to do. And then they get to the building, Joey Hyder's building, which used to be the old Western or Western Auto. And so then they found out that that line underneath that building was bad.
Correct.
So then that was another Pandora's box that was opened up. But here was a perfect partnership, a public-private partnership. Joey put up half the money to end up going ahead and doing what was underneath his building. We had to do it because of the stormwater going through there.
Correct.
The problem was addressed, the problem was solved, and everybody came out ahead.
We actually had what they call a junction box. We call them J boxes that we supplied that we've had for 2 or 3 years. But that number I gave you, that was added in also. I added extra $500 for that box. But I've got all that information if you would ever need it. I'd like to see it.
And the day that I was out there with the Jess, we went up to Cherry Street, and we were talking about the fact that then instead of trying to maybe run a storm drain all the way down Cherry, bring it down to the public restrooms, then swing it down that hill, cross over that line and go back out to tie into the line on Broadway, and it'd be a whole lot cheaper.
Right.
And that would help address the stormwater problem that's on US 70 and the water coming down Church Street
Right.
too.
There's a lot of water comes down through there, and you know, the good thing about it is that was a corrugated line that was in there, and the line we put in is smooth walls. It will carry twice the amount of water. So, you know, I'm very pleased. The guy's done an excellent job. I couldn't be more proud of him. So, but it should last, hopefully, till we're gone. So.
Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Board of Aldermen. Do the Aldermen have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to comment. I want to thank my colleagues up here for approving the consent agenda, which included naming Station 2, Fire Station 2, after Charlie Arnett. Those of you that don't know Charlie, you don't know what you missed. Charlie started serving the fire department in about 1936. And they had a fire up in Carly Heights in 58 or 59, we're not positive about that date. And the president of the association come along and says, Charlie, why don't you join the fire department? You've been coming to all of our fires and helping us. He said, well, I didn't know I needed to join. So he did. And he was a very active firefighter for many years. And in later years, in the 70s, back when we only had one person on the fire department, Charlie lived right here in town on Scotland, and he was our tanker driver. He'd come get the tanker truck and drive it. There's so many stories I could tell about him. I'm sort of the self-proclaimed historian of the fire department. And I sat Charlie down one day and said, Charlie, tell me all about, we spent several hours talking about things that had gone on. And it was so interesting in listening to him. One of the neat things he said they done is after World War II, they were all issued these white coveralls. And when the air raid siren went off, they had designated places in town that they went to and stopped all the traffic. So Charlie had to do that. He was always at work between 6 and 6:30 in the morning. Got the paper in, got the coffee pot on, done all these running around of errands. In 1992, we got lucky enough that we were able to buy a pickup truck for the fire department rather than us using our own trucks. And I was at the station one day and I heard Gary in there, and I could tell he was getting irritated. Gary Bartlett. He was getting irritated with some lady. And she said, I cannot believe that y'all have gone out and bought that big old pickup truck and expect that little old man to drive it around town doing errands. But it was good, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to just mention something about the town square. To my knowledge, there are and is no plans for the town of Black Mountain to spend any additional money on that piece of property. The town square steering committee is, from my understanding, is supposed to be raising all the funds through grants, matching grants, through donations, whatever. And this town board has no intention of being on the hook, so to speak. And I just want to make that statement. We're not going there.
Anyone else?
And to follow up on Don's statement there, and I noticed that Alan, he was sitting in the room back there, but I think he's gone now.
No, he's here.
He's here. Alan, they have received, you were talking about $100,000. They have $240,000.
Is that also with the matching funds?
Well,
There's some of the larger donations with matching funds, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they've received any matching funds on that yet.
But it was my understanding that was bequeathed, a bequeathment to the town square for 240. But I will double check that with Tom Gill, just to be sure. Also, too, I heard at a particular meeting that some of the folks were just not convinced that of the $150,000 garbage tax that was repealed at this board's first meeting, as to where the revenue was going to come from. So I want to take just a second just to make sure that the public understands that this money is not coming out of the general fund, but this is from one section is coming from the electric charging station that had budgeted at 45, but we only used 22, so there's $22,834. From the salary of the planning director, there was a figure of $47,300, which still leaves $33,000 in that account, even though we don't have a planning director. And last, from additional sales tax will be $79,866. So from those folks who were questioning whether or not where the money was going to come from to replace the lost revenue of the $6 a month, which ended up being almost a 4-cent tax increase, but from the last board, this is how we paid for it.
I'd like to also just remind everybody what Al was talking about as far as the company we now have doing the garbage pickup. We're looking at very possibly not having a single dime increase for next year, as well as this year. And I just think the town needs to understand that and know that that's not going to be something that's going to be added to the budget.
Last week, we started our budget discussions with the town departments, and I asked that the town manager and department heads look at seriously preparing their budgets at a reduction of 2.5 cents in the property tax. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of animosity, a lot of words spoken and everything, whatever you want to call it, about the tax increase a couple of years ago. I think we're in a far better position now in our finances that's been reflected by the money we're spending on the board now. So what I'm asking is, as we go about our deliberations and the negotiations on the budget, that we look at reducing the budget, the town's tax base, by 2.50 cents. Two other things. Number one, and I don't know how we would go about this, Chief or Al, but I think it would be a great gesture on the town of Black Mountain to lend support to Buncombe County as they pursue naming the Smoky Park Bridge for Fireman Bowen. I don't know how we would go about doing that, if it would be a letter from this board or from the town or what. But I think that would be a great gesture, especially as this gentleman gave his life doing the job he loved.
I'll be glad to talk to Mayor Bellamy and see what you know.
And finally, I'd like to, again, thank the folks who came out to my town hall meetings, if that's what we want to call them. And again, we are doing those the first Thursday of every month at 6:30 at the library. Crowd's a little bit smaller this time, but we still have a lot of good dialogue, a lot of good talk, a lot of good concerns by town citizens. So if you're available the second Thursday of each month, first Thursday of each month at 6:30 at the library. Thank you.
With the request of the 2.5%, Carlos, and I know you've had time to study the budget some, do you have some areas you want them to look into to make reductions on that 2.5 cents?
I think we still got some meetings to go about. So I think the other day we just heard the things that the cookie jar that we want to kind of stick our hands into to see what we can pull out. I think we got a little time to kind of.
But you don't have any direction at this time?
Right now.
Okay.
It's real interesting that Al's been able to find the money in the budget that he's found to do some of these things with that we wanted to do.
Okay. Citizen comments. Anyone want to? Let me get Ms. Fox first, Al, and I'll get you next, I promise.
I want to beg you all, Health Initiative Committee didn't ask you to take a stand. But if California and Florida can take a stand on secondhand smokes, we are better than they are. And for more than 100 years, people have been coming here to this town for health. when tuberculosis was such a problem. They all came here, and it's a shame to think that we can let it be polluted for another reason then. And I know, I've heard, and I myself can attest to it, if you're addicted to smoking, it's the hardest thing to break in the world. We had a friend who smoked for 30 years and he had to quit. And 30 years later, he said he still wanted a cigarette. And every single person is subject to damage with secondhand smoke. But every single person is not smoking. And that's a damaging to health. And I would like to challenge you all, for health reasons and every other reason. We're all going around the lake walking for our health and cigarette butts. We go to the Senior Citizen Center and work ourselves out to be healthier and cure all our problems, and there's cigarette stuff around. And I would beg you all to have the courage to take a stand on secondhand smoke. It's been talked about for a long time. Everybody knows it's an issue. It contaminates the ceiling, the walls, but most of all, it contaminates the people, every age group. And it would be a positive stand that could go all over. There are a lot of towns that might want to have protection against secondhand smoke, but we can be the leaders in it, and I would challenge you all. That's not the biggest issue you all have to face. God knows that. But you can face this one, and I think everybody would admire you for having the courage to take that stand, even if you smoke. So I would encourage you all to really follow through with the health initiative suggestion. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Alan. I was walking around the lake, and this guy passed me a good 4 times, running wide open. And then when I finished about 5 laps, he was laying in the sandbox smoking a cigarette.
Did you join him?
No.
Did you want him?
We're not going there.
You didn't take any of my 3 minutes, did you?
No.
Appreciate what you said, Don. But I heard that lady say that she was going to have, that there was going to be town employees digging up concrete. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, that's my present tax dollars. And I don't think that the common taxpayer of this town, I'm not talking about property owners in town. Okay, those people that don't live in this city limits has no vote. Those people will pass on any tax increase as a cost of doing business to people. I'm talking about people like me, people like a lot of you sitting in here that are taxpayers and voting people in this town. I think this town square project, it's been shoved down my throat enough. I want to stand up for the people that won't come here. I want to stand up for the people that will not talk to my board of aldermen here, because whether they're afraid to do so or what, I don't know. But what I hear is people saying, why is this town square project continuing? Keep it on going. And I say, call them, talk to them. Go to Carlos's meeting. Thank you for doing those. I'm going to get to one of these days. I want those people to be accounted for. And when I hear things such as they've got, right? I heard an alderman here at that meeting that you had at 3 o'clock on a Friday.
Podium.
Excuse me. At 3 o'clock on a Friday, when the working man cannot make his way here because he's working. And you have people that the taxes is not going to hurt. The tax increase is not going to hurt. But it will people like me and a lot of other people out here. Like I said, I don't mind a park, but in pristine, prime real estate, right in the middle of this town. right in the middle of this town. We need to go back and relook. We had a working solution with this board prior to. When we had the 200 people here on that time, at that time when the people like me couldn't be here, and an alderman sits over there and says, I propose to take this off of the books for sale, when we already had a working solution to this thing. And just on a knee-jerk reaction, without no discussion, no nothing, it was changed. That is not right. I could go back and give you some of this history right here where they put out this flyer that they don't have anything about that survey that was so skewed. If you remember that survey, the questions that they asked, it was stacked for people to say, yeah, we want to park. They called my house. My wife answered. They got her input. Didn't get mine. So we've got skewed information here on that survey itself. I got a red light. Just like I did before. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your 2.5 cent proposal. I hope it goes through. Thank you very much.
I don't think any skewed the survey.
Well, I don't even.
Okay, Phil.
Phil Bassesi, 15 Highview Drive. The no smoking initiative, that's an absolute must. I smoked from the time I was 17 till I was 25, and I still think of the enjoyment of my pipe. That was after I got it out of my lungs by not inhaling. So 50 years later, I know where they're coming from, the people who want their right to smoke, but I know when I start coughing next to a cigarette, it's time for them to stop. Same thing, we shouldn't be idling cars. When you come to a stop, especially under a portico in a nursing home or something like that, turn the engine off, because that secondhand smoke from your gas pipe is just as bad as the secondhand smoke from a cigarette. I want to say I really agree with the Town Square project, and I'm going on record that should they need engineering work for work to be done by the city force, this mechanical engineer will do some plumbing work, design at cost. Grow Western North Carolina. I brought that up to you a while back. Tomorrow and Wednesday, there are 7 or 8 committee meetings. I'd like to see somebody from the town at each one. I can't handle them all. But I forwarded from Land and Sky Regional Council all the information that the town can sign up for it. These committee meetings tomorrow are with the major consultants to the organization. They're the quarterly progress reports. It's very important that we be there and know this think tank will get us out of our box.
Thank you, Phil. Anyone else?
I know you're excited.
Cheryl Milton, 202 Mountain Street, Black Mountain. I told myself I wasn't going to get up here tonight, but I can't waste a good opportunity. Isn't that right, Carlos? You say you want 2.5 cents off. So if you look at the town square, which the payment on that, basically my understanding is for this upcoming year, somewhere around $203,000. If you take 2.5% of the taxes that were collected last year, that would equal out to be about $175,000 to $176,000. So with that, then when you subtract that from that $203,000 payment, you're left with somewhere about $27,000 that we could then put toward either a fireman or a policeman or something that every one of us in this town could actually benefit from. I'm like Alan. I'm not against parks. I'm not against people having places to go. But if it was the perfect world and the perfect economy, that would be the perfect place for one, and we'd have the perfect amount of money for it, but none of those things exist right now. So I ask that each of you all give it some serious thought as to, is it something that with the 200 people that were in here that day, I can assure you that I, myself, my sister, and numerous other people that were voting citizens were standing outside. There were numerous people in here. In fact, I don't know if Deborah Wooden's in here tonight or not, but she had the whole row of people that she sat with were all from Montreat. Sure, they want to park. Why should they not? It's not going to cost them anything. The people that were on the Facebook thing, it didn't cost them, it wouldn't cost 90% of them, and I actually sat down and went through each one of them, and there were about 78% of them that were not voting citizens inside the city limits of Black Mountain based on their names and based on what I could come up with in the tax rolls in Buncombe County. So when you take those people, and they wanted to come here, they come here 10 days out of the year, so they would love to have a park or whatever. As I said at your forum, parks, you can look at Blowing Rock, you can look at Hickory, you can look at Old Fort, you can look at New York City, Central Park. Each and every one of those parks come with problems. They come with places that people want to hang out. So we don't have a large homeless population here right now. There are people that do use the thing at the Baptist church. But when it gets to be warm, I guess they'll ride the bus out from Asheville, and that'll give them a new bush to lay under or whatever. These are the things that I look at that we need to look toward being able to think about the town people themselves. My thought was tonight, I had the intention, as I said at your thing, of asking for a voter referendum to be on the primary in the state of North Carolina. That cannot be done. I have researched that, so that is not an option. The only option that we do have is for you all to be able to come up with 3 votes at least, to one to make the motion, 1 to second it, and at least 1 more to vote along with it. If we don't have that, then me and Alan and the rest of us in this town are stuck with a park that we don't want. But as I said at your thing, if in fact the people, the true people, were able to speak, and so enough of them to say that we want it over the ones of us that don't want it, I'd shut myself up and I'd shut everybody else up that I certainly could. But I hope that you all will give it some serious thought. Thank you.
Thank you. This board, and this has been asked, this board, being the limited number of 5, does not have a second on their motions. So motion automatically goes on the floor. Ms. Brandon.
Ruth Brandon, 722 Laurel Avenue. First of all, Mike, that was a good explanation about the $150,000 that, we have heard for a couple of meetings now. What's concerning me is the $300,000 a year we're going to be losing from now on. I didn't hear an explanation as to how that was going to be, how that was going to happen. But that's not really what I got up here to talk about. I got up here to talk about, first I'll thank the Billy Casper people for a great presentation. And Mayor, your responsibilities are to preside and not be actively involved in the discussion. The board should be asking the questions you were asking. You did the same kind of interrogation to our fine public Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Jim Orr. And I was sorry to see this happen to these fine people here tonight. I'm surprised that you board members did not call the mayor down and tell him, you're supposed to be asking the questions, you're supposed to be involved in the discussion. I called him down when I was on the board because I got in trouble, but anyway, I did anyway. So, Carlos, you did use the right word when you said criticism. It's a very appropriate word. That's what the Billy Casper people received tonight. So I just ask you, I'll encourage this board to not sing doom and gloom about the golf course, because it's going to be one of the greatest things that has ever happened to this town. And I just encourage you to encourage them and don't criticize them. Thank you.
Never realized there's criticism in my questions. Anyone else? Rick?
Rick Spalding, 406 West State Street. I was up here a while ago talking about the ABC board and asked for the removal of Mary Sneed. You made a decision to get a mediator. I guess I would be not incorrect in saying a mediator, to listen to both sides and make a decision as to whether or not Ms. Sneed should be removed or not, and give her recommendations to this board. I think that it has been not discussed or brought to light the fact that our town attorney, Mr. Ron Sneed, is the nephew of Mary Sneed, and Mr. Sneed is Mary Sneed is his aunt. And I think that that leads me to a place of conflict of interest in the board taking advice from Mr. Sneed. I have nothing against Mr. Sneed personally. This has to do with the look of impropriety or the look of propriety. And because that hasn't been addressed at all, and we're at a point now where you're going to let Mr. Sneed provide the list of attorneys that that someone will pick from, I don't know who's supposed to pick, to make this inquiry, to mediate. It is my understanding that in the past that the town has used Robertson Stevens, a company, an outfit in Asheville.
Ruth Brandon, 722 Laurel Avenue. First of all, Mike, that was a good explanation about the $150,000 that we have heard for a couple of meetings now. What's concerning me is the $300,000 a year we're going to be losing from now on. I didn't hear an explanation as to how that was going to be, how that was going to happen. But that's not really what I got up here to talk about. I got up here to talk about, first I'll thank the Billy Casper people for a great presentation. And Mayor, your responsibilities are to preside and not be actively involved in the discussion. The board should be asking the questions you were asking. You did the same kind of interrogation to our fine public Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Jim Orr. And I was sorry to see this happen to these fine people here tonight. I'm surprised that you board members did not call the mayor down and tell him, you're supposed to be asking the questions, you're supposed to be involved in the discussion. I called him down when I was on the board because I got in trouble, but anyway, I did anyway. So, Carlos, you did use the right word when you said criticism. It's a very appropriate word. That's what the Billy Casper people received tonight. So I just ask you, I'll encourage this board to not sing doom and gloom about the golf course, because it's going to be one of the greatest things that has ever happened to this town. And I just encourage you to encourage them and don't criticize them. Thank you.
Never realized there's criticism in my questions. Anyone else? Rick?
Rick Spalding, 406 West State Street. I was up here a while ago talking about the ABC board and asked for the removal of Mary Sneed. You made a decision to get a mediator. I guess I would be not incorrect in saying a mediator, to listen to both sides and make a decision as to whether or not Ms. Sneed should be removed or not, and give her recommendations to this board. I think that it has been not discussed or brought to light the fact that our town attorney, Mr. Ron Sneed, is the nephew of Mary Sneed, and Mr. Sneed is Mary Sneed is his aunt. And I think that that leads me to a place of conflict of interest in the board taking advice from Mr. Sneed. I have nothing against Mr. Sneed personally. This has to do with the look of impropriety or the look of propriety. And because that hasn't been addressed at all, and we're at a point now where you're going to let Mr. Sneed provide the list of attorneys that that someone will pick from, I don't know who's supposed to pick, to make this inquiry, to mediate. It is my understanding that in the past that the town has used Robertson Stevens, a company, an outfit in Asheville, and someone from Robertson Stevens in the cases where Mr. Sneed had to recuse himself, that someone from Robertson Stevens was chosen each time. Now all of a sudden we're going to let Mr. Sneed decide who you choose from. Well, that's the way it was left. And I think that it would be, if you want to correct me, please do.
No, I was going to say, as I understood it, I'm sorry, but as I understood it, that decision has been left with me.
But the list
He's going to provide a list.
The list.
The town attorney's going to provide a list for
Right,
me,
right.
and I would make the final decision.
And I would just wonder why we didn't do the same thing we've always done, which is to take one of the attorneys from Robertson Stevens rather than letting our town attorney provide that list of people, because he is so close to the person in question here that I think that in the event, put it this way, in the event that this ever went to Superior Court, I don't think anybody wants to leave a hole open. And I think by letting Mr. Sneed choose who does the inquiry, that we leave a hole, or this board and the town itself leaves a hole that would not be able to be covered if this issue were to go higher up to Superior Court. So I'd appreciate it if you would consider letting someone else make that choice, or go with this firm Robertson Stevens like you always have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Honorable Mayor, I would like to say one more thing, and I will not get behind the podium.
Okay.
I want to offer my humble apology to this board and to this town and to its citizens. My emotional outbreak a while ago was uncalled for. And I love this town. I want to see all of its citizens to be fairly represented. And I'm seeing with this town square that I don't really feel that it is. And I think, as Cheryl mentioned, that if it was to be able to come to a vote, which we should have done this a long time ago, I believe you will really find that more people are against having a park because of the burden. But the reason I'm up here is to offer an apology for my outbreak.
You're accepted.
Thank you.
Mr. Sobel?
Yeah, I just want to make one final comment. I know we've been hearing about this 2.5-cent tax reduction. I just want to remind the folks that this board, this present board, by a vote of 4-1, has already dropped the tax rate, an equivalent tax rate of almost 4 cents by getting rid of the garbage tax. So this board already is addressing taxes on our citizens. We're not talking about it. We did it. Thanks.
Anyone else? There be no objection, I'm going to declare our meeting adjourned.